Hollywood has long been a place of reinvention, but for many gay actors, it was also a place of secrecy. Some fought to live openly while others navigated careers in an industry slow to embrace them. Their talent broke barriers, their courage paved the way, and their legacies endure. Here are some of Hollywood's brightest gay stars who left us far too soon. When Richard Chamberlain publicly acknowledged his sexuality in 2003, Hollywood's collective gasp echoed worldwide. The dashing lead of Shogun and the Thornbirds had masterfully concealed his truth throughout television's golden age. His coming out wasn't just personal, it shattered an unspoken industry mandate.
It's like there's been a kind of touch of grace in my life where I suddenly am present.
Fans watched his interviews afterward, noticing how his shoulders finally relaxed after decades of calculated posture. He sadly passed away on March 29, 2025, but Chamberlain's quiet revolution had paved avenues for younger actors. What he's remembered for isn't just his filmography, but that iconic moment in 2003. After coming out in his memoir, he went on Good Morning America, leaned into the microphone, hesitated for a second, then spoke 5 words that changed everything. Yes, I'm gay, always have been. And then there's Leslie Jordan, whose presence could fill any room. He passed away at 67 after a car accident in LA. He had spent years turning his height into a giant's comedic weapon. Jordan brought humor and heart wherever he went. This was evident in his Emmy-winning role as Beverly Leslie on Will and Grace. He also had memorable turns in American Horror Story and Call Me Kat. In the midst of the pandemic, his stories on social media became a lifeline to millions, his southern wit and wisdom making even the darkest days brighter. Openly gay and unafraid to be himself, Jordan often shared how growing up in the conservative South shaped him. His passing in 2022 left a space nobody else could fill, but the joy he spread continues to echo. Another name worth mentioning is Jack Larson. He was famous for playing Jimmy Olsen in Adventures of Superman.
And we were in trouble together constantly on the Superman show, tied up to chairs with bombs at our feet.
He was smart, sharp, and unlike many actors of his era, was not willing to live in the closet just to keep Hollywood happy. He never had some big dramatic coming out moment, but he didn't have to. He built a life with his longtime partner and director, James Bridges, and shifted away from acting when he realized the industry wasn't going to give him the space he needed to be himself. He found success as a writer and a producer, proving that he was more than just Superman's sidekick. Larson passed away in 2015 at the age of 87. Let's not overlook Taylor Negron. Now, you might not know his name, but if you've watched a single comedy in the 80s or 90s, you've seen him. He had that unforgettable deadpan delivery, playing sarcastic pizza guys, sleazy villains, and weird offbeat side characters that somehow always stole the show. He was openly gay, but he never made a big deal about it. He just was. He didn't fit into Hollywood's neat little boxes, and he didn't try to. When he passed away in 2015, he left behind a body of work that was as odd, funny, and unexpectedly profound as he was. Up next is Roscoe Lee Brown, who had a voice that could make anything sound like poetry. He carried himself like royalty, refusing to play the stereotypical roles Hollywood tried to give black actors in the 50s and 60s. He was openly gay at a time when that was practically unheard of, but he never let it define him or limit him. He didn't make a lot of public statements about his personal life, but he lived it with quiet dignity. He knew who he was, and he didn't need anybody else's approval. He passed away in 2007. Next in line is Disney star Tommy Kirk. He was that kid from The Shaggy Dog, The All-American Boy Next Door, and Old Yeller.
Don't you dare hit your brother! He was trying to kill my dog. He's not your dog, and I never even touched him. Where on earth did he come from?
Then Disney found out he was gay, and just like that, his career was over. He was barely out of his teens when Hollywood tossed him out. He struggled for years dealing with addiction and rejection, but he never denied who he was. When he died in 2021, he left behind a complicated, painful, but ultimately inspiring story. So let's move on to John Gielgud, whose arrest in 1953 should have ended his career. Instead, the Shakespearean legend turned scandal into a footnote through sheer talent. His death in 2000 at 96 years old barely made headlines, and that wasn't from lack of regard, but because his work had become immortal. What modern audiences forget is how he weaponized his flamboyant mannerisms at a time when identifying as gay was dangerous. Every exaggerated gesture was both brilliant acting and quiet rebellion. His true masterpiece was making his sexuality visible while the world pretended not to see it. Next up, let's talk about David Ogden Stiers, aka Major Charles Emerson Winchester III.
The handsome, dapper Dr. Major Winchester, sir.
Klinger, you don't have to suck up to me. I didn't that, and I don't like you anyway.
On MASH. With his rich, commanding voice and effortless wit, he made every performance memorable. Though he kept his personal life private for much of his career, he publicly came out as gay in 2009, later revealing that fear of discrimination had kept him silent for years. Beyond acting, he was a talented conductor, lending his skills to symphony orchestras across the country. He passed away in 2018 at the age of 75, leaving behind a legacy of intelligence, humor, and quiet resilience in an industry that often demands conformity. We can't forget Farley Granger, one of the first Hollywood stars to live openly as a gay man. Now, even though he didn't make an announcement in the typical sense, he was openly candid about his sexuality in his memoir, which was published in the 2000s. Best known for his roles in Strangers on a Train and Rope, he had a career that spanned several decades, working with legendary directors like Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, Babs, he pulls those things out of his hat.
Who's the interesting-looking Frenchman with the Darbies?
His name's Anthony. He's not French.
Granger passed away in 2011 at the age of 85. He was open about his sexual identity in a time when it was taboo. This was a personal but powerful choice, paving the way for future actors to live more openly. Then there's Tab Hunter, who passed away in 2018 and marked the end of a complex journey. The golden-haired heartthrob had kept his love affair with Anthony Perkins hidden for years, only revealing the truth in his 2005 memoir. This relationship was once described as Hollywood's worst-kept secret. His passing was marked by fond memories of his charm and an acknowledgement of his tremendous courage that it took for him to live openly in a deeply repressive time. Hunter's legacy is more than his status as a heartthrob. It's about how he defied an industry that demanded silence. He remains an icon for anybody who's ever struggled to be themselves in a world that pushed back against authenticity. Up next, we've got Paul Winfield, a man whose talent was as undeniable as his presence. He earned an Oscar nomination for Sounder, giving a performance so powerful that it still resonates today. Winfield never hid who he was, but he didn't broadcast it either, as he was very discreet about it professionally. He made his own path, excelling in film, television, and theater. Whether playing historical figures or sci-fi icons, he brought depth and dignity to every role. He spent decades with his partner, architect Charles Gillian Jr., until Gillian's passing in 2002. Winfield followed 2 years later in 2004. Now, his legacy isn't just about acting, it's about defying expectations. And finally, we have John Fraser, whose career spanned across theater and film. He featured in The Dam Busters and Repulsion. In an era when many actors concealed their true identities, Fraser refused to live in silence. He was an openly gay man, navigating Hollywood's expectations without hiding who he was. His 2014 memoir, Close Up, offered insight into his personal life, including his relationship with playwright Noel Coward, defying the constraints of his time. He passed away in 2020 at the age of 89, remembered not only for his acting talent, but also for his bravery in living authentically during a repressive era. So, whose legacy resonates the most with you? Let me know in the comment section down below.